Welcome to Oxfordshire Community Hub. I'm delighted to have as our guest John Rushton, who I met at Oxford Three Faiths Week at St. John's College about a couple of years ago. John, welcome.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Great. And you said you'll start off with some music for us.
Okay, yeah, right. Here we go.
Thank you very much, John. That was lovely.
Yes,
A real good start, I think. No, thank you. So tell me, John, when did you or how did you fall in love with this wonderful instrument? So tell us what it's called, and,
right.
and you know, how did you get to know about the instrument, and you know, how did you fall in love, as it were, with it?
Okay, well, so here it is. It's a big instrument, and I used to live in Birmingham, and I used to go to the town hall where a gentleman called Ravi Shankar came and gave live concerts, and I didn't miss the opportunity to go and listen to him. And it struck me that this was a very lovely sound, and that was good. You know, I bought records and I listened when I could. And then a few years later, when I was 27, I fell out of love with Western civilization, really, and wanted to find a spiritual way of knowledge. My ambition was to head for the hills, actually the Himalayan foothills, and to spend the rest of my life meditating in a cave. That was the idea. And I did actually get there. It took me 6 months to hitchhike to Kathmandu in Nepal. And then, strangely enough, I met a sitar teacher. And what a rare opportunity. Immediately, I jumped at the chance to start to learn. And then, believe it or not, I met a sannyasi, a Hindu monk who'd given up all worldly attachments, given up all wealth and family connections, everything, in pursuit of God. And this was exactly what I was looking for. So these two things were what I continued to study in Nepal, near Kathmandu, in a little mud hut in the foothills of the Himalayas, and the water supply was a waterfall just down the path, and there was nothing else in the hut. We spent a lot of time talking, and he was teaching me yoga. I was learning about Hinduism, meditation, and my background was Christian. I was brought up, I was baptized in the Church of England, but I felt that there was some hidden reality in God that I hadn't experienced. So that's what I was setting out for. And this is how I got to know the sitar and to become interested in other faiths, because this man was a very intelligent man. He went to university, he studied physics, and he decided one day it wasn't worth it. He just gave it up. And actually, I'd been studying chemistry and part-time at night school, and very hard going. You know, because 4 days working, one day at college from 9 in the morning to 9 in the evening. It was very hard, I found. When I eventually got a certificate, I worked for a while to save some money. You could only take £250 out of the country then. So that was going to last me the rest of my life, I thought, in this little cave in the Himalayas. And that's what I set out to do.
That's wonderful. I'd sometimes go to a shrine, a Sufi shrine up in the foothills of the Himalayas.
Yeah.
It's called Murray.
Yeah.
In Murray, it's in Pakistan, and it's very calming and very beautiful. And you know, telephone reception isn't great, so you put your phones away, and it's just wonderful not to have to look at your phone again and again just to check messages and so on. Quite liberating.
Well, they weren't invented when I was there.
Yeah. So, you mentioned Ravi Shankar. I mean, tell us a bit about him, because some people listening might not know who he was.
Okay, so this is a man who was born almost exactly 100 years ago. He's not alive now, but he made it into his 90s. And he was a virtuoso. He was a great exponent of sitar, this instrument. And not only that, but he had tremendous talent for encouraging people, other musicians, to engage with him and to engage with other forms of music. And he was very encouraging for the Beatles, the pop group, the Beatles. And they took up sitar for a while, but quickly realized that they would never get to the point that they had already got to with their guitars. So they just left that behind. But this was a very good musician, very keen on educating people in music, and quite a big figure in Indian classical music.
He was a giant. He was a giant, wasn't he?
Yes, very much.
Amazing. I mean, mesmerizing. When he played sitar. Tell me, you know, I hear sometimes people say that the rag, the way you know, can create certain moods in a person.
Yes.
So would you be able to shed some light on that?
Yes, I think so. Indian music particularly does have this ability to influence moods. And there are different, as you say, rags, different compositions, different modes and methods of music, which are suitable for different times of day and different times of year, because they fit with the emotions that come up because of these things. And it's a very deep study, Indian classical music. It's something that I've barely scratched the surface, really. Only enough just to be able to take up the instrument. But really, I'm still a beginner. Okay. No. This is how I can say.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, of course, we're all self-isolating and staying in our homes for our own safety, as well as the safety of others. How are you coping with this? How are you keeping yourself cheerful and resilient physically and also mentally and emotionally and so on?
Well, as you might guess from someone who headed out to spend a life of meditation originally, it's probably not such a hardship really for me. And I can use these electronic programs, these Zooms, and and so on to talk to people and meet them. It's a bit of a challenge in that I can't get out to play live music in gatherings, but I'm looking at ways that I might be able to use. There's things like YouTube, things like that. I might try and get into that. So how is it? Yeah, it's a time when I can investigate these other ways of doing things, you know, and it's a time when I can get into this music in a way even more.
Do you think, John, that when the lockdown is over, are there things that you will do differently, or will it just be back to normal, or whatever normal is?
Yeah, well, I've talked with friends about this, and we're all hoping that life would be less materialistic, less, less harmful to the planet, less harmful to other human beings, because there's a certain movement of friendship. Have you found this? When you walk down the street, maybe more people say hello, more people appreciate the present, the life as it is. Because if there's a threat over your life, that you could catch this, you could die, and surely it makes you feel more to make the most of what is here and what is now, I think.
Yeah, it's certainly brought many people together and so much good. I was just listening to the news about Captain Tom, who wanted to raise £100 for a charity, and raised £30 million, and it just keeps going up and up.
That's right.
It just, I mean, when you see that kind of news, you think, how wonderful. What a generous country that we live in. And we just don't get to hear about those generous people. It's always the ones who are causing the mischief and misery we get to hear about on television. But there's such goodness, and look at the NHS staff, people really putting their lives on the line to serve others. And
all these people volunteering to join in, and without really having the equipment. It's just amazing.
Actually, how are things like? I think you live near Benson, you said. I mean, what's happening there in terms of local support for people who might not be able to go out? Is there anything going on?
Yes, there is. Yes, the WhatsApp telephone linkage is very active now in small groups on our estate, just in streets. People are contacting each other, asking if they can do some shopping and other ways of supporting people. So there is that local initiative taking place.
Wonderful. In terms of, I suppose, your message for those who might be listening at this difficult time, what might that be, John?
Well, I think that having experienced part of my life under the threat of the 3-minute warning, when we all thought as young people that at any moment nuclear missiles might be landing on our heads, maybe with 3 minutes warning, maybe with none. To make actually the best use of this particular moment, this particular time where we are in, maybe if you could be kind to people, to other people. I think that's one of the greatest things, kindness.
Yeah, no, thank you. And to conclude, John, can you do some rag that could cheer us all up?
Well, I'm not really...
Anyone who's listening to this, sorry, John, anyone who's listening to this, I want to make sure that they're cheered up in this difficult time.
Okay, well, I'll do what I can.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Great, that was wonderful. Thank you very much, John. Thanks for joining us. Take care and
Yes,
keep well, my friend. And
you too.
hopefully we shall see you again and see you physically rather than
Yes,
virtually.
we hope.
Bless you.
Yes.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Yeah.
All right. So this is another one in the same sort of key, but this one's an Indian Christian song, and it's called Guru Murti. So it's
Bravo, bravo. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, John. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure many people will enjoy that. And
Yeah.
thanks for taking the time to join us. And you know, as I say, God willing, we will meet again,
Yes.
and this will be over. You know,
Yes,
we
you
will
will.
get over this, and we'll do it together with everyone, I think.